This video is going to walk you through how to complete your assignments for the entire week. You can find them under this week's current task topic in the classwork tab of Google Classroom. The first thing I want to walk you through is the grade 6 narrative pretest. This was assigned before break. When you open your copy, you will see a prompt and a passage that you were supposed to read. You then are supposed to respond to this prompt. In the passage from Magic Elizabeth, the author creates a vivid setting and two distinct characters, Mrs. Chipley and Sally. Think about the details the author uses to establish the setting and characters. Write an original story about what happens when Sally arrives at Aunt Sarah's house. In your story, be sure to use what you've learned about the setting and characters as you tell what happens next. So when you get here, you put your name, the date, and then you're typing. You pick up where the story leaves off, and you tell what happens next in the story by writing a story. So you should have dialogue, characters, setting, all of those things should be present in your writing. This is a pretest. Try your best. Once you've completed that, you should be working on your evaluating bias, practice, and apply. You'll see that there's a Google Doc and a Google Jamboard. You should work on your Jamboard first, and we will go over this in class. But basically, you're going to focus on the first page, just identifying fact and opinion. So you would then move, well, spiders do have 8 legs. That goes here. All spiders are terrifying. I would say that's an opinion. So I'm going to move each sticky note. If I think it's a fact, it's going to go on this side of my board. And if it's an opinion, it's going to go on this side of my board. And then the second page here, you will see that there are 6 statements from reporters, and you're going to pretend you're the editor of a newspaper, and you want to see if the statements are biased, okay? So you're going to read each Post-it note, and you're going to determine if it goes from biased or not biased, and you're going to move wherever you think it is. So by the end of it, you should have 6 statements sorted as biased or not biased. Once you've completed that, the next part is to read some examples. So make sure you read your directions. You want to highlight in yellow evidence of bias. So I would select text, and then I go up here to my highlight, and I would put yellow. I want to bold facts. So I'd select my word, and then I would click B for bold. And then the same thing for underlining, select, and then U for underline. And then you're going to respond to a question. So you're going to read each one of these statements about a person and their perspective on the scenario. And then you're going to answer, how does that person's personal experiences affect their perspective? And you will write that here in the text box. You have 5 questions to answer. 4 are based on prompts for you to look at, highlight, underline, and bolden. And then the last one is your own thinking. Why do you think a person's personal bias might be a bad thing when making big decisions that affect a community? And once you finish that, you can turn that in. And then you want to work on your 2.3 and 2.4 application of skills projects. So you actually have to work within this Jamboard here and MyOn. So I'm going to start by showing you MyOn. When you go into MyOn, up here by your name, you see the word projects. Your screen looks a lot different than mine. But if you click that projects, you're looking for the project 2.3 and 2.4. When you do this, you have 2 things that you have to do here. One is to read this title called Understanding Your Civil Rights. You can listen to the book, or you can just read through the book. As you read, you should use your tools to annotate by highlighting and use the journal to take notes. You can access all your notes in the journal later when you're completing your graphic organizer. So once you finish your reading, you should see a green check mark here next to understanding your civil rights. Then you're going to go here and you have a graphic organizer. So your topic is going to be understanding civil rights, and you're going to think about, as you're reading, what is happening, who is there, why did it happen, when did it happen, and where. And then once you've done that, you will see, once you've submitted it, another green check mark, and then your entire project should show that it is finished over here. Now, you also need to do this Jamboard, and all of these tasks need to be completed before, during, and after your reading. So, for instance, when I look at this Jamboard, my topic is civil rights. Well, I'm going to complete my KWL. I'm going to start on this before I read. What do I know about a topic? I'm going to use yellow to represent the things I know. And I do that by going sticky note, making sure it's yellow, and then it'll add it here. I want to use blue to represent questions I have. What do I want to know about the civil rights? And then I'm going to, after I read or even during my reading, I'm going to use orange. I'm going to put all the things that I learned about the civil rights as I was reading. The next page has us analyzing the graphics in our text. So for instance, here, this graphic would be an image, right? A photograph. Fans cheered for Mexico during the World Cup on March 24th, 2010. So my type of graphic would be a photo. I would then, in my own words, say what it shows, and then how does it connect to my big idea of civil rights? I can use Post-it notes or text boxes to do this. And I'm just going to choose approximately 3. We want 3 types of graphics here that you're going to think about. And then your final page, you're still thinking civil rights, but now you're going to stop and evaluate the credibility and accuracy of the sources. You're going to do that by completing this 3-circled Venn diagram. We want to look at perspective, the way we see something, the point of view. Think of our author. Power, who is able to gain something from this. And then position, where do you stand? Where does the author stand and people stand in the text about this topic? And then anything that overlaps goes in these overlapping areas. And again, you can use Post-it notes or text boxes to do this. There's a list of questions to consider as you work through this, as well as a definition and icon box to help you remember what perspective, power, and position mean. And we will be going over this more in class, but just so that you have these references, they are also here for you. Now, once you've done that, you can go into Google Classroom and you can mark that as done. You can now turn this assignment in. And lastly, this week we have our 2021 vision board. And this is something to work on, preferably on Friday, but you can work on it anytime. You're going to choose 3 categories to think about. You're going to use images to represent emotions, what you want to do for fun. You're going to think of quotes, what do you want to do more of or do less of. And you can use my example 1 here to help you. And the whole idea is that you're creative. Use this explore function to find images. So for example, if I say I want to go to the beach, then I'm going to type in beach here and then images, and I can choose an image from the beach there. Now, if you want to get some of your fancy cropping like I use, I'll just show you this real quick. I'm going to insert it. I would make this smaller, going to the corner, make it small like that. If I go up here to the crop and I click this down image, I'm going to go over to shapes and let's make this one look like a cloud. And then now my image looks like a cloud. So that's just an option there for you to see. But you're going to fill this blank slide 5, with all of the information required on slide 2. And you can use my example to give you ideas at any time. I really suggest you use the explore function. It's the easiest way to do this. And then your reminder directions are on slide 4. And once you have completed that, you can then mark that as done as well. Notice your due dates on your assignments. One is due Tuesday. That's the bias and fact and opinion. One is due January 7th. That's our MyOn project and on civil rights. And then our vision board is due on Friday. Keeping in mind, we also have 4 podcasts that we will be expected to complete this week. So let's stay on top of our tasks. If you have any questions, make sure you ask.